The Jeep's engine growled in protest as I navigated the final switchback, tires slipping slightly on the icy mountain road. My breath fogged the windshield, and I rubbed at it impatiently with my sleeve. The digital clock read 3:47 a.m. I'd driven through the night after that last unsettling phone call with Claire. "They sound so tired, Adam," she'd said, her voice thick with concern. "Mom mentioned the generator's been acting up again. Could you just go check on them?" I should have noticed how her fingers had drummed nervously against the kitchen counter, should have questioned why she didn't just call them herself. But 3 years of marriage had trained me to read her silences all wrong. The cabin loomed ahead, its dark windows reflecting the Jeep's headlights like blank, staring eyes. No smoke curled from the chimney despite the sub-zero temperatures. No footprints disturbed the fresh snowfall around the porch. The key stuck in the lock. Frozen or tampered with, I couldn't tell. When the door finally gave way, the smell that rushed out made my stomach clench. Not wood smoke and damp wool like last winter, but Chanel No. 5 and something metallic underneath. "Richard?" My voice sounded too loud in the empty space. "Evelyn? It's Adam." Silence. The flashlight on my phone cut through the darkness, illuminating a scene that made no sense. A half-empty bottle of Dom Perignon sat sweating on the coffee table beside 2 crystal flutes. The tag still hung from a fur coat draped carelessly over the armchair, a coat I'd last seen in the window of Aspen's most exclusive boutique. Then the glow caught the edge of something modern and out of place. Richard's laptop, lid raised, screensaver dancing across a spreadsheet. Every cell in my body screamed at me to turn around, to call the police, to do anything but step closer to that glowing screen. I stepped closer. The spreadsheet was titled Hartwell Recovery Fund, but the numbers told a different story. Line after line of our assets, mine and Claire's, neatly itemized like inventory. My fingers trembled as I scrolled. There were dates going back 18 months, long before Richard's financial troubles began. Notes about my work schedule, my habits, even my medication. Then I found the emails. From chartwell@mail.com. Sent September 14th, 6 months ago. Subject, trust update. Dad, Adam signed the revised trust documents today without reading them. I told him they were just boilerplate updates from the lawyer. He was so distracted worrying about my stress levels, he didn't even ask questions. Sometimes I can't believe how easy this is. P.S. Tell Mom to ease up on the designer shopping sprees. Adam noticed the Amex bill last month. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk as my knees threatened to give way. The dates, the amounts, the meticulous planning. This wasn't desperation. This was a long con. And my wife wasn't the victim. She was the architect. The highway stripes blurred together as I drove. My hands clenched so tight around the wheel the leather creaked. The heater roared but couldn't touch the ice spreading through my veins. Our brownstone was lit up like Christmas when I pulled in, every window glowing warm and inviting. Claire's silhouette moved behind the kitchen curtains, pouring wine like it was any other Friday night. The front door stuck slightly. She'd had the locks changed last month. "Just updating security, sweetheart." Her smile faltered when she saw my face. "Adam, what's—" The printed emails fluttered across the marble island like falling leaves. One landed in her pasta carbonara, the sauce bleeding across Richard's careful figures. For 3 heartbeats she didn't move. Then she set down her wine glass with deliberate care, the crystal ringing like a funeral bell against the countertop. "You went to the cabin." Not a question, an accusation. My voice came out raw. "Was any of it real? The wedding? Our honeymoon? That night you cried in my arms after your miscarriage?" Her laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. "God, you're pathetic. That was just to explain why I stopped taking birth control. We needed joint assets for phase 2. The knife twisted deeper. That night, holding her while she sobbed about losing a baby that never existed, had been the moment I'd decided to transfer everything into joint accounts. I turned toward the garage, toward my toolbox, toward anything I could use to smash this nightmare into pieces. Her voice stopped me cold. "Before you do something stupid, you should know the prenup you signed, the one your lawyer approved?" A smirk curled her perfect lips. "That wasn't the real agreement. The hotel room smelled like bleach and false hope." I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the business card in my hand. The one the bartender had slipped me with my fourth whiskey. M. Costello, financial forensics specializing in asset recovery. The voicemail from Claire played for the 12th time. Be reasonable, Adam. Sign the papers and you can walk away with your car and what's in your checking account. Fight us and we'll bury you. Outside, snow began to fall, the same snow that covered the cabin where this started. Only now I saw the truth. The carefully constructed lies, the manufactured crises, the way they'd played on every decent instinct I had. They thought they'd broken me. They were wrong. Revenge wouldn't come from rage or violence. It would come from patience, from precision, from using their own weapons against them. I dialed the number on the card. Costello, a gruff voice answered. I need your help disappearing $500,000, I said, watching the snow erase all traces of the city below. And so it began.
The stale coffee in my styrofoam cup had gone cold hours ago. Across the scarred wooden desk, Marcus Costello flipped through my documents with fingers that had seen too many paper cuts and not enough sunlight. Jesus Christ, he muttered, pausing on a particularly damning email chain. They didn't even try to hide the paper trail. I rubbed at the twitch in my left eye, the one that had appeared somewhere between discovering the fraud and finding the hidden camera in our bedroom. They didn't think they needed to. Costello's office smelled like burnt circuitry and desperation. Framed degrees hung slightly crooked on water-stained walls, a dead ficus wilted in the corner. It was the kind of place where truth came to die quietly. He leaned back, the chair protesting with a squeal. You understand what you're asking? This isn't just getting your money back. This is war, I finished for him. A slow grin spread across his face. Exactly. He reached into his desk and pulled out a fresh legal pad. Let's start with the mistress.
I blinked. What mistress? The one Richard's been paying off for 3 years? He flipped open Claire's parents' bank statements. See these monthly withdrawals? Always cash. Always the 15th. Same amount every time. His finger tapped the pattern. Either your father-in-law has a gambling problem or... The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Evelyn's sudden interest in spa weekends. Richard's unexplained absences. The way Claire had always changed the subject when... My fist clenched involuntarily. You're saying we use that? Costello's smile turned predatory. I'm saying we start by burning their world down from the inside. The coffee shop was strategically chosen. Far enough from Claire's usual haunts. Close enough to her best friend's apartment. I watched Jessica Caldwell check her reflection 3 times before sitting down. You look like hell, she said by way of greeting. The truth was, I'd looked worse since sleeping in my car. But today's stubble and rumpled shirt were carefully curated. I need your help, Jess. She stirred her latte with practiced nonchalance, but her knuckles whitened around the spoon. If this is about the divorce, it's about the baby. The spoon clattered against porcelain. A mother at the next table glanced over before pointedly looking away. Jessica's voice dropped to a hiss. What are you talking about? I slid the ultrasound photo across the table, the one I'd found taped behind Claire's jewelry box. 8 weeks before the miscarriage? I tapped the date. Notice anything? Her breath caught. The timing was impossible. I'd been in Tokyo closing the Patterson deal. Claire doesn't know I have this. I let the implication hang between us before pushing a thumb drive across the table. There's more. Bank records, emails. My voice broke just enough. I need to know if you knew. The lie tasted like victory when her eyes welled up. Oh my God, Adam. I believe you. I stood abruptly, leaving the thumb drive behind. But you should see the rest. The notification chimed at 2:37 a.m. Blackthorn Holdings has withdrawn their offer on the mountain property. I stared at the email in the glow of my burner phone. Phase 1 complete. Costello's contact at the county recorder's office had quietly flagged the cabin's title for survey discrepancies. The buyers had gotten cold feet. Now Richard's carefully planned liquidity event was evaporating. My finger hovered over the second message, the one to Evelyn's book club mailing list with the security footage of Richard entering a downtown hotel with a woman half his age, the timestamp clearly visible, last Thursday when Evelyn thought he was at a board meeting. I hesitated. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about the way Claire had laughed when I proposed, that bright, sparkling laugh I now realized was at me, not with me. About the family emergencies that always coincided with important meetings. About 3 years of my life reduced to a spreadsheet. I hit send. The law office smelled like lemon polish and broken promises. Claire sat across from me, her lawyer smirking beside her. "Sign the papers, Adam." She pushed the documents forward with manicured fingers. "This doesn't have to get ugly." I studied her face. Really studied it, for the first time since the cabin. The slight asymmetry of her Botox. The way her left eye twitched when she lied. Had I ever truly seen her before? My lawyer cleared his throat. "My client has some concerns about the validity of these documents." Claire's laugh was ice. "What concerns?" I opened the folder slowly, savoring the moment. Like the fact that the notary on our prenup, I slid the photo forward, was Richard's golf buddy. Her breath hitched. Or that the trust documents were backdated. Another page. Or that... Enough. Her lawyer stood abruptly. "This meeting is over." I leaned forward, close enough to smell her Chanel. "It's just starting, Claire." Outside, the first snowflakes of winter began to fall. The diner's neon sign buzzed like an angry hornet, its flickering glow painting the cracked vinyl booths in alternating shades of pink and nausea. I sat with my back to the wall, watching the door through the reflection in a grease-smeared napkin dispenser. 3 days of stubble itched my face, and the taste of stale coffee lingered on my tongue like a bad memory. The bell above the door jingled. He moved like a man who'd spent too many years looking over his shoulder. Shoulders slightly hunched, footsteps measured, eyes constantly scanning. Lucas Vega slid into the corner booth with the practiced ease of someone who knew every exit route. I waited until the waitress refilled his coffee before making my approach. Up close, the scars told stories I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. A jagged line along his jaw, knuckles that had seen more concrete than accounting ledgers. "Lucas Vega," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. The vinyl groaned under my weight. His dark eyes flicked up, assessing me with the cold precision of a predator. "You're the Hartwell problem." His voice was rougher than I expected, gravel and smoke. I kept my hands flat on the formica. "And you're the forensic accountant Richard fired right before his miraculous retirement." A muscle jumped in Vega's jaw. He pushed a fork through his pecan pie with deliberate care, syrup oozing like an open wound. "You've got 5 minutes before I lose interest." "Long enough?" I said, matching his tone. "I know Richard framed you for the missing pension funds." Vega's fingers tightened around his coffee mug. "You don't know shit." "I know you spent 8 months in Rikers because of him." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "I know your wife left you while you were inside, and I know..." I paused, watching his pupils dilate. "You've been tracking his offshore accounts for 2 years." The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken violence. Finally, Vega reached inside his battered leather jacket and slid a manila envelope across the table. His fingers left faint grease stains on the surface. "You'll want to see this," he muttered. The first page was a bank statement. Grand Cayman, numbered account. The second, a property deed for a villa I recognized from Claire's girls' trip last year. The third, holy shit. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Vega's smile was all teeth. "Turns out your father-in-law's been skimming from his cartel partners for years." He tapped a circled transaction with a nicotine-stained finger. That's a down payment on a bullet to the head." The pie filling suddenly looked too much like congealed blood. My stomach turned. "Why show me this?" Vega leaned forward, the booth creaking under his weight. His breath smelled of whiskey and vengeance. "Because the DEA would pay 6 figures for this intel." His voice dropped to a whisper. "But I'd rather watch Richard Hartwell choke on his own gold-plated teeth." The motel room smelled of stale cigarettes and desperation. Green code scrolled across my laptop screen in an endless cascade, the glow painting Costello's face in eerie shadows. He popped another Tums, crunching loudly in the silence. "You're absolutely sure this will work?" he asked for the 14th time. I adjusted the fake glasses, part of my new IT consultant disguise, and resisted the urge to strangle him. "It's elegant," I said, pointing to a particularly nasty subroutine. "Once this executes, every dollar Richard stole will start trickling back to its original accounts." I zoomed in on the interest algorithm. With compound fucking interest. Costello whistled, his jowls quivering. And Claire? My fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Even now, after everything, saying her name sent a jolt of pain through my chest. I pulled up another window, a series of carefully crafted emails between Richard and a dummy account linked to the cartel properties. By the time she realizes what's happening, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, she'll already be standing in a pool of gasoline. Costello's grin was unnerving. And you've got the match. The enter key sounded like a gunshot in the quiet room. The Waldorf ballroom glittered like a gilded cage. Crystal chandeliers threw diamonds of light across the assembled sharks in Armani suits. I lurked in the shadows near the service entrance, my catering uniform itching at my neck. Claire moved through the crowd like she was born to it, her emerald green dress clinging to every curve, her laugh that perfect blend of warmth and calculation. I watched as she touched Richard's arm, whispering something that made him throw back his head in laughter. The projector hummed to life. One moment, the CFO droned on about Q3 earnings. The next, Exhibit A, Hartwell Trust Fraud. The slide appeared with a soft click. The room's chatter died mid-sentence. Claire's champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. Richard's face went the color of spoiled milk. Then the video played. High-definition security footage of Richard shaking hands with men who had cartel written in their neck tattoos. The briefcase exchange, the GPS coordinates, the timestamp, 3 days after Claire's supposed miscarriage. Chaos erupted. I slipped out through the kitchen as the first police sirens wailed in the distance. Claire's scream, raw and unrecognizable, cut through the night. "Adam, you son of a—" The door swung shut behind me, muffling the rest. The safe house smelled of fresh paint and paranoia. 6 monitors glowed in the darkness, each showing a different news channel's coverage of the Hartwell downfall. CNN, prominent family arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Fox, cartel connections revealed in high-profile case. BBC, the revenge of the Silicon Valley husband. Costello tossed today's Wall Street Journal onto the desk, the headline screaming, "Cyber Vigilante takes down white-collar crime ring." I ignored it, focusing instead on the plain, white envelope he'd placed beside my coffee. The key inside was cold against my palm. "The cabin?" I asked, though I already knew. Costello's grin was all teeth. "Foreclosure auction? Funny thing, no other bids." He chuckled at his own joke. Almost like someone scared them off. The mountain air was knife-sharp when I returned, scouring my lungs clean of the city's filth. The key, my original key, the one Claire had tried to steal from my key ring, turned smoothly in the lock. Inside, the fireplace was already lit, casting dancing shadows across the familiar walls. A bottle of Dom Perignon. 1990. My birth year, chilled in the sink. I poured a single glass, the bubbles fizzing like laughter. Outside, the sun dipped below the peaks, painting the snow in shades of blood and gold. To new beginnings, I toasted the empty room. The echo of clinking glass was the only reply. The letter. The paper was thick, expensive, the kind Richard used for his important correspondence. I traced the embossed letterhead one last time before sealing the envelope. Mr. Vega, enclosed find the evidence we discussed. The DEA will be waiting at the coordinates below, tonight, 11 p.m. sharp. P.S. When you see Richard, tell him— I paused, the pen hovering over the page. The words came easily now. Tell him his daughter says hello. The end.